Hey guys, I'm Peter with Falcon Leather, and today I'm sharing my list of must-have tools for anyone that wants to get started in leather crafting. If you've ever felt overwhelmed by all the tool options out there, don't worry, you're not alone. I've been there, and this is my list of tools that I wish I had when I got started. So let's get into it.
Falcon Leather.
Getting into working with leather can kind of feel like you're walking into a hardware store without a shopping list. There are tools for everything, whether it's stitching, edging, finishing, each one with different styles and wildly different pricing. And don't even get me started on the traditional versus modern tools debate. Use what you like, use what you're comfortable with, use what you can afford. It's super easy to spend a ton of money experimenting with different tools and gear that you just end up don't liking. So today I'm breaking down my list of what I consider to be the essential tools that I recommend to beginner leatherworkers. Ones that will actually get you making things without breaking the bank. My go-to knife is the Alpha 60mm rotary cutter. It's specifically a fabric knife. It works great with your rulers, your straight edges, or even if you have a speed cut, one of the little mats like this, it fits in those grooves, gives you perfect straight cuts. The blade is replaceable. That's a big thing for me. You'll see a lot of guys who love the traditional artisan knives, Japanese knives, saddle knives, but you got to sharpen them. My other go-to for like anything curved or more intricate is a simple box cutter, like this Craftsman box cutter. Again, replaceable blades. I love the ability to quickly have a sharp blade. If I'm cutting a lot of stuff in a row, I don't want to have to sharpen in between. Eventually, I did upgrade and get a pair of fabric scissors. These work amazing with like the bag leathers, anything that's a little softer. I wouldn't want to be cutting a lot of veg tan with this. It'll really get your hand a good workout. But with these, between these two knives, you can cut anything. The scissors really make it a lot easier. These are my go-to for cutting. You're definitely going to need a cutting surface. When I first started out, I had a 12 by 18 self-healing mat, and then I upgraded to this Alpha 24 by 36 inch cutting surface. I've had this one for 3 years. I've got literally thousands of cuts done on it, and it's great for protecting the surface below it. Absolutely a must-have. And for measuring and guiding your cuts, I like these OmniGrid rulers. This is an OmniGrid. This is a Fiskars, but the see-through grid system rulers work really great. They work well with the rotary knife as well. For the bigger cuts, I have a 48-inch metal blade, straight edge. If you're going to use something like that, I would recommend adding a piece of or a strip of cork tape on the back to help grip the whatever surface you're working on. But the longer ones are really good for if you're cutting the width of a hide, gives you the full length cut. Bonus item for cutting, if you're making any kind of belts or straps, you've got to get the Craft Tool strap cutter. It turns thick hides into perfect straps with very little effort. All right, now that you got your pieces cut out, it's time to start prepping for stitching. You're going to need an adjustable wing divider to mark your stitch line, and then you're going to need some stitching chisels to actually punch the holes. Pro tip, don't go with cheap chisels. I started with a bargain set, and they bent almost immediately. This Weaver 5mm set is affordable and worth every penny. You'll also need a mallet. Don't ever use metal hammer on metal tools. It'll ruin them almost immediately. A basic poly mallet is a good way to start. They're cheap and durable, but I did eventually upgrade to the Berry King mauls. I think this is the 16 ounce. It's a great tool. If you can afford it, I would highly suggest starting with one of these, or at least quickly upgrading to that. When you're punching your holes, make sure you're working on a sturdy surface. I like to use a cheap cutting board, and a lot of times I'll put a scrap piece of veg tan leather over it to help protect the cutting board. But I worked like that right on the coffee table for a long time, but eventually I upgraded and got the tooling block that I work underneath the cutting board. It's a solid, sturdy surface. There's no bounce. The key is you don't want to let your tools bounce, and this could damage your work or your hands. For hand stitching, you'll obviously need needles and thread. I like to use Maine Thread Co. And so whatever thread I'm using from them, I go on their website and get the needles that correspond with the size thread. But whenever you're sewing, you will want a stitching pony. I like these because you're able to work with it under your leg in your chair. So if you're using it in your chair, you can put it here. I like to stand sometimes, so I'll put it here. And I'll just put a little weight on there, and I can stand here and do my stitching with it like that, or I can take it over and sit on the floor and put it under my leg and work with the piece where I want it to be. So a stitching pony is great. You can do saddle stitch without a stitching pony, but that takes a little bit more skill. So starting out, I highly suggest getting a stitching pony. If you're making a wallet, belt, or anything with an exposed edge, you're going to want to properly finish that edge. A hand burnisher is a great, affordable tool to make those edges look smooth and professional, even as a beginner. Well, there we have it. That's my list for getting started. I know there's a ton of other specialty tools for whether it's rivets, cutting holes, any kind of hardware. You're going to have to get specific tools for that hardware and equipment. But this is my beginner list to get you started making stuff without overwhelming you and draining your wallet. So, did I miss something essential from your list? Drop it in the comments below. I'd like to know what you think. And as always, thank you so much for watching. It means a lot that you made it this far. If I'm lucky, I'll see you in the next one.